Yeah, what do you predict the trends are going to be like with that, the shortages and stuff? Do you think how do you think they're going to continue, and do you ever think they're going to go away?
The trends with what?
Just with like shortages and such with companies, food, like the economy.
Right. So I think the driving force behind the problems of why we currently have a supply chain shortage and just problem is ultimately due to the fact that people don't want to work. They value their lives. People are dying from this epidemic, and they're just really evaluating what it means to live in this kind of reality, so to speak. So with that, they're like, oh, should I really work at Burger King for a couple more years so I can keep buying the things I want or whatever? Or should I really just take some time and just focus and just think about my goals again or whatever, and not do meaningless things like work at Burger King for a couple more years and not really progress much in your life unless you enjoy working at Burger King. But that's that's a if any, it's a small majority or a small minority of people, and quite rare, to be honest, because flipping burgers or just working at Burger King, you're not gonna really get better in any sense. I mean, not really in the sense that you could do it at home, I guess, the same kind of flexibility and freedom, but you're forced to do it at a work environment. But then again, people do like being in a work environment like that. But
the comfort and the stability, and I think that in a lot of ways has caused the current trends we're seeing, because people are realizing that they can't be stable regardless. So they're kind of realizing, like, wait, if my job isn't stable, what does it have to really offer me? But it's interesting you say that, because I would have assumed it was a supply shortage, but you're saying it's a worker shortage, which is interesting.
Right.
I never thought of that.
Right, so there is a supply shortage because there's no workers. There's no one contributing to the market. So there is a supply shortage.
Well, there's a supply shortage of the workers that work with the supplies.
Right, that's the reason. I mean, ultimately, people aren't working. There's record low numbers of unemployment because the government decides that you can get a stimulus check for the same amount by doing jack and shit if you do it at home, as opposed to just working, not getting as many benefits. And so most people, especially in the Americas or in the United States, are only working just to make that make some money. And so if those are objective, why the hell are you still working that shitty job that you're only doing it for money in the first place, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so if you're able to do that, then again, you may, since you have money from stimulus checks, if you get it, I'm not saying everyone does. The people that do get it, maybe they deserve it, maybe they don't, but just they get it, they're able to have more open doors to do whatever else things they want to do that was previously either barricaded by not having a job or whatever. But then again, it's interesting stuff, because I think eventually it will obviously come back, because it's even if trillions of people die, or billions of people die somehow tomorrow, eventually things can't go undone in a sense, because once you taste, for example, what it means to have a fancy toilet bidet or whatever it's called, that cleans your ass for you, you're almost, if you have a choice and if you like it, it's kind of hard for you to not, and if you can afford it and have it accessible.
Addicted to ass wipers.
It's kind of hard for you to say, oh no, I'm not gonna give it away or whatever, I'm not gonna do it for the economy or whatever things you come up with. But it's I think it comes full circle. It's just a matter of current market conditions and all the other factors that are contributing to the problems we see today with supply shortage, people not willing to work, and just economy not doing as well as it was before. But I also think the economy may have done so obviously the economy hasn't done as well as I think pre-COVID, but it also has helped made certain industries significantly like wealthier in a sense as well, right? Because now instead of doing that, there's more money being poured in, you know, different industries, especially ones that don't require you to go outside, you know, mostly like internet based, like tech software and those kind of things have exploded in the past year and stuff like that. Convenience, comfort also has been a couple notable things that have exploded in terms of, you know, market capitalization, their financials, the amount of money, revenue, and whatever they're making. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, because like almost every like online based business is doing much better because of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, most retail stores are almost like, due to these past 2 years, they don't have enough funding to keep afloat. A lot of them have went out of business or been bought out by, you know, these people with, you know, millions of dollars with tons of money coming in every month because of more businesses, and just kind of makes them extremely wealthier because they're buying like good businesses with actual tangible assets that create money on a day-to-day basis for cheap, because, you know, but they're able to do so because, you know, they're not getting as much money as they should have been, and just due to, you know, one obstacle or another, you know, not being able to work just because of the government not being able to you know, allow people to go outside, buy things or whatever, has also, you know, killed their source of income.
Because from like all sides,
right. And we also, due to this, we also see this trend in more like retail businesses, for example, ones, or like in-person businesses going online, for example. You know, you could order things online, and you can order things online from, let's say, like Sam's Club. They're like online, like before, like a couple of years ago, I don't think they even had like online, or at least it wasn't as developed as it is now. And it was like, but now it's like been developed more, and so now they're kind of regained a lot more money, because previously, when it wasn't as developed, it was, you know, harder to attract people and whatnot. But now it's gotten a little better, I'd say. When it will, you know, regain its original height, you know, supply chain isn't as severe as it is, you know, I think it has to do with a multitude of factors, but I think a big factor that may push a lot of our current problems we see, at least, especially strictly speaking in the U.S., is if certain political and like government policies are, you know, kind of changed, so they're not so like lenient again. I think it may help, so to speak.
Yeah, lenient with what exactly?
You know, just offering so much wiggle room, you know, giving money to people.
Okay, just making sure we're on the same page.
But I think, you know, it has its use case scenario, and I think it's obviously saved a lot of businesses, it's saved a lot of families, it's helped a lot of people, but I think it's also, you know, hurt a lot of people.
It's like driven complacency through the roof, right? It's not healthy for a society. It's not sustainable, right? Because it incents people to not work. You know, it doesn't matter whether you can at a certain
right. There's no longer that like give and gain kind of you know, factor anymore, because, you know, normally you know, give your time to work or whatever, just have that kind of trade-off, and you kind of get that reward for, you know, putting the effort and working. But there's really, you know, especially a year of not doing this, people forget what it means to work, what it means to work hard and, you know, actually make a living. So I'm actually afraid that, you know, once the government does, you know, kind of kill these relief programs and such, you know, people are actually gonna like end up homeless and just like end up on the streets or whatever, or just have a lot of like protests saying, oh, give us back your stimulus check or whatever, because of the fact that they've already tasted what it means to make money, or not even make money, but just get money for not doing anything.
But they might whine and like, all
Right.
day, but like, does that mean anything? Because like, even though
Right.
they whine, like at the end of the day, someone's, if they're at a threat for not having food in their table and stuff, and they're not able to pay rent, I think that type of situation pushes people back into survival mode, where they kind of get realistic and they start paying attention to things that matter, and then they're driven to work. I think that's part of human nature.
I can
So
see that.
So I think if you take away stimulus checks, yeah, they'll whine, but at the end of the day, it won't matter. But that's what I think. I don't know.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that, but I think at least for a short duration, I think it'll be like a bigger obstacle to face. Like it'll be like, I don't know, 6 months of people doing this for a while, and then people will actually get their shit together and actually start living again.
Yeah.
Actually being people, like actually okay people, not so like over the year, because of all these conflicts and problems due to the COVID or like pandemic, a lot of harm and unjust has been committed in a sense, out of frustration, out of yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it out of frustration, as well as not knowing what to do, like not having the option to kind of not having a safety net, or like a clear way out of the problems they're facing, and just not having a general direction on life, I think, has also caused a lot of this as well.
It's certainly caused by a multitude of factors. We can't just pin it down to one
Right.
thing. But I do think the government relief programs, I think those are, I'd say among the greatest cause, if not the greatest.
Yeah, but I'd say there is a use case scenario for the stimulus checks. I feel like it has helped a lot of people, but the gain and benefit is honestly debatable. I'm slightly more lenient on the fact that they cause more harm than good for most people.
And there's
but-
definitely better solutions in any case that could be used instead, right?
Right. But also speaking, the government these past years, especially in the U.S., has been, really, really, hi Gato, really,
Hey, yeah.
bad in a sense. It's driven by things that shouldn't matter in a sense. That has, things that shouldn't matter that influence the majority of situations and whatnot.
Yeah, the government works for the government, not the people.
Right. And yeah, it's crazy stuff if you think about it. In like a few years' time, I'm sure people will say, "Oh, like this caused this." Maybe I think actually most people would think what's happening right now is good, in the sense that it provided more good than bad. But I think from a logistical standpoint, it didn't really.
Yeah.
It caused more harm than good, in a sense.
Because it ended up hurting the economy, and when the economy does bad, everyone does worse essentially, because then they tend to lose jobs, and more people go below the poverty line. So when you look at it, more people end up becoming unemployed at the end than otherwise, right? So it doesn't even combat that which it originally served to do.
I mean, the objective of a stimulus check is to relieve temporary obstacles due to financial hardships, mostly to businesses, individuals, or whatnot. But it may have done that for some people, but it also has, brought up the problems that I mentioned earlier about how it caused complacency. It's caused bad symptoms that has slowly became, the seeds of badness has grown, so they're now like almost like trees that are like poisoning the ground and just ruining everything.
Yeah, like complacency, right?
Right. Because once human or whatever becomes complacent, like almost satisfied with what they have, it's not a bad thing. But if you don't progress any further, you're just Well, I think most people are like that, especially in the
It's
U.S.
very true, and it's not even just human nature. Like we can see these trends with fish too. So in these certain ponds where in certain places they have their own separate ecosystem, right?
Yeah, I think
And in those ecosystems, right? They have like some of these ponds have one predator and then several animals, right, that are underneath them, and the predator kind of keeps the animals in sync and keeps everything going smoothly. But when you take away the predator in these environments, they're called keystone species. When you take them away, the remaining fish, one of the remaining fish, just completely dominates everything, and they just end up doing nothing. They just like they literally do nothing, and they just deplete all the resources, and they don't produce new resources. It's terrible. It's sad, but that's a lot of what's happening with people too. You know.
Yeah, I think the problem is if you don't have consistent change, especially with people, when people become complacent, they'll start developing like a lot of bad symptoms. Like over these, you know, they almost
They create problems.
it create problems. It makes people's lives meaningless in a sense without progression and stuff like that. But I think people. I think it's just because generally speaking, people find most of their meaning in life. They don't really like think, what do I want to achieve in a couple of years? Most case scenarios, and if it is, it's very generalized. Oh, I want to get a master's degree in, I don't know, mathematics, so I can be a academic professor. But they're not really focusing on what they want. This is kind of like what society has made them to think they want.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not bad if they want that because there's tons of passionate people in math, and they spend hours out of the day, studying math or doing whatever as for the example. But it's also it's not healthy. It's not sustainable in a sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it certainly isn't. I gotta go get food. I'm hungry.
yeah, no, it's a good idea.
Yeah, should we stop it or I don't know?
I just pause it. And
Pause
we
it?
just resume it.
Yeah, or
afterwards.
just create food videos. We could probably string them together later.